All right, welcome to our 10 a.m. Collider coffee break, where we take a few minutes on your Friday to let you know what we've been working on at Collider and also what's going on in the ecosystem. So I will send it to Jamie to start us off this morning.
Yeah, a couple of quick things just to mention this week is this week was the launch of one of our three peer groups, which was our food peer group. I think it went very, very well. You know, it's good to get a bunch of people together, and of course, we can't meet in person, so we're meeting on Zoom, and I'm really excited of these 9 great companies that we have at this moment that are really kind of banding together to help each other out in the food sector around the region. So I think it was a great first discussion. I'm really excited what the next year brings. And hopefully it just shows that impact of entrepreneurs helping entrepreneurs in our region. So super excited about that. Looking forward to kicking off our medical and biotech group next week, and then our female peer group in the next few weeks. So really excited about that. Again, thank you to our sponsors. There's so many sponsors, Reddy, Smith, DMC, and Frederickson and Byron, who have really stepped up to help support and believe in these peer groups. Also, this week, we have a new addition to our family, a new addition to the Collider team. Eric, who you'll meet very, very soon, is coming on board. He is an intern from Luther College, doing that Rochester semester that Luther College does here in the Rochester area, where they put college students, basically embed them in Rochester and give them great internship experiences with companies around the city. So really excited to have him on board. He's going to be working really closely with Amanda and really closely on really building more stories and content for Rochester Rising to help tell those authentic stories of our entrepreneurs. So we are so excited to have him. Our first meeting went very, very well, and we're super jazzed about seeing what he's going to do over the next couple of weeks. So hopefully you'll be able to see him on some upcoming videos, and you'll get to learn more about him and the amazing content that he's going to bring to Collider and Rochester Rising. So with that, I will hand it back to Amanda.
So I'll just continue on the Rochester Rising thread while we're there and share the stories we talked about this week with Amarilys Henderson, who is a local creative entrepreneur. It was a really fun podcast and article because moving into 2021, we're focusing on one entrepreneur in the content I create on Rochester Rising each week. We'll have more with Eric on board now, but it was a really wonderful, fun conversation with Amarilys, really understanding from a creative entrepreneurial perspective, how do you build revenue streams to build a sustainable creative career. So she had a lot of insight to share. She's had a lot of different journeys in life, going from animation to illustration to watercolor classes that she teaches, and now a watercolor book that she's developed from her classes. So it was a very fun conversation, and you don't get to see it, but I got to take a peek at her workspace when we were on our Zoom video together, which was super cool. But listening to the podcast with Amarilys, she was really fun to chat with. And I also want to thank AJ Montpettit, who suggested her to me. So I always love to get suggestions from the community, from people I talk with of other businesses in the community. Although with one caveat, we never take self-nominations, so don't even try to do that. It's just weird all around. So we do not take self-nominations, but always interested in hearing from the community who has a great story to tell. So also this week, we're actually halfway through our Basics of Entrepreneurship class at week 4 out of 8, where each week we're narrowing. And this week we talked about developing an end user profile. And as always, we had a wonderful guest speaker. This week we had Ahmed Makawi join us from Mountain View, California, although he has a lot of very deep ties to the Rochester community. And it's been really fun to see all these innovators' ideas come to fruition and really start to develop and come into focus even throughout these 4 weeks. So we're excited to see what happens in the next 4 weeks of the class and continuing on with the development of these entrepreneurs in the community. So one very last fast thing, this week we had our first 1 million cups in a hybrid English Spanish version. So it was very cool, a lot of fun to see one business that was fairly new, one that was a couple years, but still new, LMS Boutique and Slendy Cleaning. So I believe the video for 1 Million Cups Rochester is probably up now. If it is, we'll link it in the show notes, but if not, check it out. Whenever it comes out, we'll share it. But there is both English and Spanish, so everyone can listen, everyone can understand what everyone is saying. It was super fun, so I give a lot of credit to Stefan, Marty, Juan Pablo, and Tanya for making this happen in the community. So on that note, I'll send it back to Jamie for final thoughts.
Sort of reiterating, the 1 Million Cups was phenomenal. It was a lot of fun. It really did highlight this diverse community of business owners that we have. So I was really happy to see it, and I know from being someone who is behind the scenes, more passively, not really actively, over the last month as they've been pulling this together, it's been really difficult to pull it together. And so I think there's a model there now for how we could do future 1 Million Cups and really shake things up and be more inclusive in our community. So thanks to the great team from 1 Million Cups, always making us look really bad when Amanda and I used to do it. So that's good. That's a good thing, right? That's natural evolution. So this week, for my final thought, I really wanted to focus in on the sort of Rochester Rising theme and really acknowledge the work that Amanda's doing for Rochester Rising. I was listening to the most recent podcast this morning, and what really kind of awakened in my brain was the idea. I was listening to this great content that's being produced, and after the podcast was over, I switched to, I will say, an unnamed podcast that's nationally known, and the content was like 10 times worse, and the editing was 10 times worse. Much bigger audience, obviously, but the content just wasn't fantastic. So I just want to reiterate that I think Amanda has done a great job on Rochester Rising, especially the podcast and the articles. And I really, if you haven't had a chance to listen to a podcast, please do so. You're really missing a critical piece of the story of Rochester that's being told very, very effectively week after week. So I cannot recommend highly enough. This is, of course, Collider repping its own product, but I really think in this case, it is 100% worth it. So please download Rochester Rising's podcast on any of your favorite podcatchers, and you're going to have a better sense of the business arena here in Rochester. So it's also very interesting to see, great groups like Destination Medical Center starting their own podcast, as well as Medical Alley recently started their own podcast. So I think it really does validate that this format is here to stay, that the adoption of podcasts is going through the roof. And I'm just so excited that, that we've been able to be there from very early days to provide content and stories here in Rochester. So definitely check that out. And with that, hopefully I haven't made her head swell too big. I will hand it back to Amanda.
It's funny. I was talking with Amarilys about something like that because she records her own educational videos, and how like you like cringe when you listen into like your first couple. Like I can listen to about, I don't know, let's say like 2 years ago and forward, and the quality was like better. But some of those first ones, you're like, oh, like the conversation was good, but the audio quality, not good. That being said, please still listen to the early. There's still some really good conversations going on there, but like Jamie was saying, the audio quality was acceptable, but it's gotten definitely better, hopefully. All right, so on that note, thanks everyone for tuning in today. A major way you can help us is just to like this video and share it with one person that you think should know about what we're doing at Collider, or should know about what we shared about what's going on in the community. So enjoy your weekend. Stay safe. I know it's a snowy, wintry mix we're having over these past few days. So stay safe, stay inside, and listen to podcasts.